Tefnut, the moisture bringer. Tefnut was the goddess of moisture, rain, and dew, absolutely crucial in a desert civilization where water meant life or death. She was literally the divine source of every drop of water that fell from the sky. No pressure for a goddess whose job was keeping everyone alive. She was one of the first deities Ra created, either by spitting or through other creative means the myths politely don't detail. Tefnut and her brother Shu were the original divine couple, representing the essential elements of moisture and air that make life possible. Tefnut had a famous temper tantrum that nearly destroyed Egypt. She got angry and fled to Nubia, taking all the moisture with her. The land dried up completely until the other gods convinced her to return. Sometimes divine family drama has serious environmental consequences. Her symbol was the lioness, which might seem odd for a moisture goddess until you realize that female lions are fiercely protective of their pride's water sources. Tefnut embodied that same protective instinct for all of Egypt's precious water resources. Ancient Egyptian farmers probably prayed to Tefnut more than any other deity. Every morning dew, every rare rainstorm, every bit of humidity in the air was her gift. She was the patron goddess of anyone whose livelihood depended on water, which was basically everyone. Shu, the air-between. Shu was the god of air and atmosphere, the invisible force that separated earth from sky and made breathing possible. He literally held up the heavens with his arms, preventing the cosmic collapse of everything. Talk about having the weight of the world on your shoulders. His most famous job was keeping his children, Nut and Geb, separated. The sky goddess and earth god were locked in eternal embrace, but their passion was so intense it prevented creation. Shu had to physically hold them apart so life could exist in between. Divine family planning at its most dramatic. Shu was depicted as a man with feathers on his head, or sometimes as a lion. The feathers represented air currents and wind, while the lions symbolized the power of breath and life force. Ancient Egyptians understood that air was both gentle and tremendously powerful. Every breath you take is technically a gift from Shu. Ancient Egyptians believed that life force entered the body through breathing, making Shu essential for existence itself. He was the divine explanation for why stopping breathing meant stopping living. Wind power and atmospheric science owe their conceptual origins to Shu. He established the idea that invisible forces in the air could be incredibly powerful and worthy of respect. Every weather forecast is basically reporting on Shu's daily activities. Nut, the star-spangled goddess. Nut was the sky goddess who literally covered the world with her star-covered body. She was depicted as a woman arched over the earth, her fingertips and toes touching the horizons, her belly decorated with stars. Ancient Egyptian astronomy was way more personal than modern versions. Every night Nut would swallow the sun, and every morning she would give birth to it again. This made her both the end and beginning of each day, the divine recycling system that kept time moving forward. She was basically a cosmic birth-death-rebirth machine. Nut was forbidden from giving birth on any day of the year, which created a problem when she got pregnant with 5 children. Thoth won 5 extra days in a gambling game with the moon, creating the intercalary days where Nut could give birth to Osiris, Horus, Set, Isis, and Nephthys. Her body was covered in stars, and ancient Egyptians saw her as the night sky itself. Every constellation, every twinkling star, was part of Nut's divine form. Looking up at the stars meant looking at a goddess's body. Ancient Egyptian astronomy was deeply personal. Nut represents the ancient understanding that the sky isn't empty space, but a living, protective presence. Every planetarium show and stargazing session echoes her role as the divine guardian who watches over us from above. Geb, the laughing earth. Geb was the earth god who literally was the ground everyone walked on. Every mountain, valley, river, and grain of sand was part of his divine body. Ancient Egyptians understood that the earth beneath their feet was alive and aware. He was depicted as a green-skinned man lying beneath Nut, reaching up toward her with obvious longing. Their eternal separation by Shu created the space between earth and sky, where all life could flourish. Sometimes the most productive relationships are the ones where you can't quite reach each other. Geb's laughter was said to cause earthquakes. When the earth god found something amusing, the whole world would shake with his divine chuckles. It's a delightfully optimistic way to think about natural disasters. Maybe the earth is just having a really good time. As the father of Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys, Geb was basically the grandfather of all Egyptian mythology's major drama. Every divine family feud, romance, and tragedy traced back to his children. He was the ultimate patriarch of dysfunction. Geologists and environmentalists carry on Geb's tradition of understanding Earth as a living system. Every earthquake study, every environmental protection effort, every moment of appreciating natural beauty connects back to the ancient idea that our planet is divinely alive and worthy of respect. Ma'at, the feather of truth. Ma'at was the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic order. Basically, the Egyptian version of a Supreme Court judge combined with a universal law of physics. She wasn't just about rules, she was the rules. Her feather was literally the measure of a person's worth after death. During judgment, if your heart weighed more than her feather, you were done for. No appeals, no technicalities, just pure moral mathematics. Ancient Egyptian justice was refreshingly straightforward. Ma'at represented the concept that the universe had fundamental laws that couldn't be broken without consequences. She was the divine embodiment of what goes around comes around. Karma with wings and official authority. Pharaohs wore her feather as a symbol of their commitment to just rule. Every royal decision was supposed to be weighed against Ma'at's standard of truth and fairness. It was like having a divine ethics advisor who couldn't be bribed or intimidated. The symbol of scales weighing truth versus lies comes directly from Ma'at's judgment process. Every courtroom with scales of justice imagery is displaying ancient Egyptian divine symbolism. Her influence on legal systems worldwide is literally carved in stone. Nephthys, the shadowy sister. Nephthys was Isis's sister and the goddess of mourning, death, and hidden things. Basically, the ancient Egyptian goddess of everything that happens in shadows. She was essential to the divine family drama, but often stayed in the background. She was married to Set, but secretly helped Isis recover Osiris's body after Set murdered him. Talk about complex family loyalty. Helping your sister-in-law against your own husband takes some serious moral courage. Ancient Egyptian family therapy would have been intense. Nephthys had a secret affair with Osiris that produced Anubis. This makes the whole family tree incredibly complicated. Set raised his wife's child, who was actually his brother's son. Egyptian mythology makes modern soap operas look simple by comparison. As a goddess of the transition between life and death, Nephthys guided souls through the dangerous journey to the afterlife. She was like a divine GPS system for dead people, making sure they didn't get lost in the underworld. Why did Nephthys betray her husband Set to help Isis? Was it about justice, family loyalty, or something deeper? The myths never give a clear answer, leaving us with one of ancient Egypt's most intriguing character motivations to ponder. Ptah, the divine craftsman. Ptah was the god who built the world with words and thoughts. While other creator gods used physical actions, Ptah spoke creation into existence. He was basically the ancient Egyptian version of a cosmic architect with a really powerful voice. Memphis, one of ancient Egypt's greatest cities, was his headquarters. Every craftsman, artist, and builder in Memphis was under Ptah's protection. He was the patron god of anyone who made things with their hands, from sculptors to shipbuilders. Ptah was usually depicted as a mummified man holding a staff that combined the symbols of power, life, and stability. He looked like he was ready for the afterlife, but decided to stick around and keep building things. Talk about dedication to your craft. His priests were the master craftsmen of ancient Egypt. They designed and built temples, statues, and tombs that still amaze us today. When you see those perfectly fitted pyramid stones, that's Ptah's influence through his highly skilled followers. Modern engineers and architects owe a debt to Ptah. He established the idea that creation requires both vision and technical skill. Every time someone designs a building or creates something with their hands, they're channeling ancient divine craftsmanship. Hathor, the cosmic cow. Hathor was one of the most complex goddesses in Egyptian mythology. Part cosmic cow, part beautiful woman, part terrifying destroyer. She was basically a divine Swiss Army knife with an impressive range of abilities and moods. As a sky goddess, Hathor was sometimes depicted as a giant cow, whose legs formed the pillars of heaven and whose belly was covered in stars. Imagine looking up at the night sky and seeing it as the underside of a divine cow. Ancient Egyptian astronomy was definitely more creative than modern versions. Hathor was the goddess of love, beauty, music, and joy, essentially the patron saint of having a good time. Her temples were places of celebration with music, dancing, and festivals. She knew how to throw a party that lasted for millennia. But she had a dark side too. In some myths, Hathor and Sekhmet were the same goddess in different moods. When she was happy, she brought joy and love. When she was angry, she became a destroying lioness. Talk about emotional range. Modern musicians and artists should probably thank Hathor regularly. She invented the idea that creativity and celebration go together. Every concert, art exhibition, or dance performance is basically a tribute to her divine party planning skills. Khnum, the divine potter. Khnum was the god who literally molded humans on a potter's wheel. He sat at his cosmic pottery station and shaped every person who would ever be born. Imagine your entire existence being a divine craft project. That's Khnum's specialty. He controlled the annual Nile flood from his cave near the first cataract. This wasn't just about water levels. The flood determined whether Egypt would feast or famine each year. Khnum held the economic fate of the entire kingdom in his hands. The ram was Khnum's sacred animal, which made perfect sense to ancient Egyptians. Rams were symbols of fertility and creative power, just like Khnum's role in creating human life. His ram horns represented the divine creative force that shaped existence itself. During the 7-year famine recorded in Egyptian history, people believed Khnum had stopped releasing the floodwaters. They built temples and offered sacrifices to convince him to turn the pottery wheel of creation and the flood cycle back on. Divine customer service at its most crucial. Modern pottery and sculpture trace their spiritual roots back to Khnum. Every time someone shapes clay with their hands, they're echoing the ancient divine act of creation. He's the patron saint of everyone who makes something beautiful from raw materials. Khepri, the dawn beetle. Khepri was the god of the rising sun, depicted as a scarab beetle or a man with a beetle head. He represented the daily miracle of sunrise by literally rolling the sun across the sky like a giant dung. Beetle rolls its ball. Ancient Egyptian solar mechanics at their most creative. The scarab beetle became one of Egypt's most powerful symbols because of Khepri. Egyptians noticed that scarab beetles emerged from balls of dung as if by magic, making them perfect symbols of rebirth and transformation. They turned an insect's bathroom habits into profound religious symbolism. Khepri's name meant "he who comes into being," which perfectly captured the daily renewal of sunrise. Every dawn was like the universe being reborn through divine beetle power. It's hard to imagine a more optimistic way to think about morning routines. Egyptian amulets shaped like scarab beetles were incredibly popular because they carried Khepri's power of transformation and protection. Archaeologists have found thousands of scarab amulets, making them one of the most common ancient Egyptian artifacts. Everyone wanted beetle power. Modern jewelry still features scarab designs, often without people realizing they're wearing ancient Egyptian religious symbols. Khepri's influence on fashion and design has lasted over 3,000 years. That's some serious staying power for a bug god. Liked it? Give us a thumbs up and subscribe. We've got plenty more exciting stories coming your way.